Today we'll be covering one of our favorite deluxe resorts on property with full-blown savannas in its backyard. We're heading to Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to Disney podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Sunday, September 21st, and you're listening to episode 106, Resort Spotlight, Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. Disney announced the celebrity narrators for the Candlelight Processional at Epcot's International Festival of the Holidays for 2025. The festival is set to run November 28th through December 30th for this year. And in case you aren't aware, the Candlelight Processional is essentially the story of Christmas delivered by your celebrity host, along with the help of a 50-piece orchestra and a choir. So new this year is going to be Constance Wu, Jennifer Garner, Leslie Uggams, Henry Winkler, Lauren Daigle, Joel David Smallbone, Brie Larson, and Cheryl Lee Ralph. And returning are Jordan Fisher, Ashley Eckstein, Ralph Macchio, Marlee Matlin, Gary Sinise, Brendan Fraser, and Luis Fonsi. Notably this year, Neil Patrick Harris he's normally regular, but he has scheduling conflicts this year. That's going to essentially prevent him from taking part, which is unfortunate, but hopefully he'll be back for next year. Disney announced the Skyliner closure for 2027, so this is way ahead of when they normally make this announcement, but they waited a long time actually to announce it for 2026, and I think some guests would have liked to have known a little bit sooner, given that some people essentially plan, their resorts solely because of the Skyliner, right? So long story short, the Skyliner is going to be closed from January 24th through 30th. That's going to be in 2027. And as a friendly reminder for 2026, it's going to be the 25th through the 31st. So it's just essentially moved by one day for next year.
Yeah. And we normally do not report on this type of news, but there was actually a robbery at the Paddlefish Table Service restaurant in Disney Springs earlier this week. As if that wasn't upsetting enough, the suspect actually swam up to the restaurant in a wetsuit and scuba gear, and he made away. I shouldn't say he, I guess we don't know for sure. So he or she made away with a pretty hefty amount of money. Thankfully, there were no injuries, and this happened after midnight after the restaurant had already closed for the night. The person responsible has not been caught as of yet. This doesn't happen often on Disney property, but it's definitely a sobering thought. While it is comforting to stay in the Disney bubble, things like this can still happen. There have been a couple things like this throughout the years, right? And so it's just a reminder that things can still invade the bubble.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's few and far between, but of course, it's not immune completely. Yeah.
And then over at Universal Orlando, the Islands of Adventure Park will be undergoing some changes soon. Universal confirmed that the Lost Continent area will be demolished and there will be a new IP coming to that area of the park. They haven't announced what it's going to be, but we can expect to see something here in the future, so we're going to announce that when we hear more about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Universal also announced that the Jurassic Park River Adventure will be closed on January 5th for an extended refurbishment, and it's not scheduled to reopen until November 19th of 2026. So that's actually quite a long refurbishment.
Yeah, it's like 11 months, yep.
But honestly, we're just really happy that we're going to get to ride this with the kids this November because I think they're going to just think this ride is amazing.
Oh, for sure.
We're not going to tell them about the drop. We're just going to let them discover that one on their
dinosaur,
own.
But they'll be fine. But.
So I'm glad we do get to ride this just before it closes completely.
Agreed. Yeah, totally.
For pretty much the entire of 2026.
Exactly. And this next news we're pretty saddened by, right? So essentially, a guest died at Epic Universe on September 17th, which was Wednesday. So essentially, a man was found to be unresponsive after riding Stardust Racers, which is over at Universal's newest park, right, Epic. And he was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. So Universal made the following statement. So Universal is cooperating with the Orange County Sheriff's Office following a tragic event involving a guest at Epic Universe on Wednesday night. The guest became unresponsive after riding Stardust Racers and was transported to the hospital, where the guest later died. We are devastated by this event and extend our sincerest sympathies to the guest's loved ones. We are fully committed to cooperating with this ongoing investigation, and the attraction remains closed. So as of this recording, nothing's changed. So Stardust Racers does remain closed, and the investigation is still ongoing. So yeah, this is devastating. There's no doubt, right? Our thoughts are with the loved ones, obviously, of the deceased, as well as the cast members and the first responders, that dealt with this incident in the first instance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. With that said, let's get into today's main topic, which is Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. So this is a deluxe resort, and like the name implies, It's in the Animal Kingdom area of like Walt Disney World property as a whole. This is a deluxe resort and one of our favorites out of all the resorts on property for sure. And actually, we stayed here fairly recently. So that was 6 nights back in September of last year. And we really had a phenomenal time. We loved our stay here. We had booked a standard room, but lo and behold, when we were walking actually towards our room, I noticed like just by the numbers and the side of the building we were on that we were facing the Savanna. So I was like, okay. And then we walked in and looked out, and sure enough, we had like I guess what you'd call a partially obstructed Savanna view room. But honestly, we were just so happy with that. I think it counts as a standard room because obviously Disney can't sell it as a Savanna view room. But regardless, it was like a super nice surprise. And like when we say partially, it really was like partial, right? We still had phenomenal
Oh
views.
my gosh, we could still see tons of animals. I would not have even called that partially. So I thought it was a win.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It was just such a really nice surprise to have that upgrade that we did not ask for at all, especially coming from Universal. We had done a few days at the Royal Pacific leading up to our Disney days at that time last year. And we've said this before, Universal and the resorts are great, don't get us wrong. But for us, Disney's hits different. It's always comforting to drive into the Disney bubble and check into your resort and then check out of reality for a few days. So having a nice surprise above and beyond what we were expecting was just so nice. Like Oliver said, this is one of our favorites. The lobby is absolutely stunning. It has that wow factor immediately when you walk in for sure. It's definitely on the lower end of price for a deluxe resort too, which actually makes it more accessible to more families. You can find rooms here in the $400 a night range, which is much lower than the Monorail and Epcot area deluxe resorts.
Yeah, exactly. And like for $400, that would be including discounts, but still like, yeah, consistently it's like reasonably priced, we'll say, for a deluxe resort.
Yeah.
So with that, let's get into a little bit of the history. So it opened back in April of 2001, just 3 years after Animal Kingdom Park itself. In 2001, it was a standard resort, meaning it did not have any DVC villas. But in 2006, Disney announced that they would open Disney's Animal Kingdom Villas, which was really just converted guest rooms on the 5th and 6th floor of the existing building. And this first phase opened in 2007. Kidani Village, which is a separate DVC building, but it's still walking distance to the main building. Let's just be clear on that. That opened in 2009, and in that added over 300 more rooms to the DVC inventory for Animal Kingdom Resort as a whole. And at that time, the main building was renamed, or just named rather, to Jumbo House to differentiate essentially between the two buildings. The resort was designed by Peter Dominic, and we've mentioned this before, but he's the same architect that designed Wilderness Lodge over by Magic Kingdom and actually the Grand Californian Resort over at Disneyland Resort as well. And like you can definitely see those influences when you walk into these resorts.
Big time, yeah.
They all look like, I don't want to say similar, but you can tell that like there's like the
vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The architecture especially, they just kind of similar, but completely different at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of theming, this resort knocks it out of the park. Disney says that the resort is inspired by the traditional African kraal and is shaped loosely like a large horseshoe, which gives guests great views of the 4 savannas at the back of the resort. And the savanna is home to over 200 animals and birds. The 4 savannas are named the Pembe Savanna, the Sunset Savanna, the Uzima Savanna, and the Arusha Savanna. Depending on where you are on property, you will have views of one or more of these. When you walk into the lobby, you enter into this massive space with extremely high ceilings. There's beautifully intricate large lanterns along the super high ceiling, and there's massive exposed dark wooden beams all across the ceiling and then all up along the outside of the walkway railing that's surrounding the interior of the lobby. The walkways on the outside lead to the guest rooms on the floors above. The railings are made out of wood and rope, and so basically everything in here is like that dark wood color, but let me be clear, it's not in a dingy way. It's absolutely stunning here. The floor is also hardwood in this kind of crisscross pattern, and then the whole space just flows. It's hard to put it into words because it's just absolutely jaw-dropping when you first walk in here for sure. It's so beautiful.
Agreed. It's such a beautiful space. Like it's worth coming to the resort just to check that out.
Absolutely.
Especially at Christmas time. Just like Wilderness Lodge, they do a massive tree in here and it's just so pretty. And yeah, aside from that, there are like essentially several chairs and tables in the center of the lobby where you can just kind of sit and enjoy the ambiance. And yeah, when you're sitting there, you can just kind of like appreciate the intricate detail and the woodwork basically like all around, right? It's kind of reminds me of the Tree of Life over at Animal Kingdom. There's just like, subtle touches that if you're not really looking for them, you might not notice. But when you actually sit down and look, yeah, it's really cool. Oh, and we also forgot to mention this, but like on the 5th floor, essentially like where the railings are that lead to the guest rooms, there's actually a suspension bridge that walks like essentially directly over the lobby. It's super cool. There's also glass cases with authentic African artifacts, basically, that you can peruse when you're exploring the space. And the exterior of the building has earth-colored tones, so think like brown, green, sandstone, and the balconies are painted different colors as well, like blue, red, and green. And then there's also those large exterior kind of wooden beams in between the balconies as well that are essentially like wrapped with ropes.
Beautiful.
So
beautiful.
nice. Yeah. And then when you look like again outside, the roofs are kind of rounded with, I guess it looks like straw. I don't know if I don't think it's actually straw, but it definitely looks like it.
It does.
And it's, like Lucy said, it's probably one of the best themed resorts on all of property. It's just super
breathtaking.
Nice.
Yep.
And then in terms of layout, it's a fairly large resort, right? But everything isn't too far away. So it's really not that spread out. Having said that, it is large enough that it does have an internal loop and essentially a shuttle between Jambo House and Kidani Village. But that's 100% walkable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you walk into the lobby, you're actually on the 3rd floor. On the left, you're going to have the check-in desk that line the left wall all the way to the back of the lobby. And then on the right, you will have Zawadi Marketplace, which is the main merchandise location. And then if you continue just beyond that, you'll have stairs to the lower levels. If you go down these steps, on the first landing, you're going to have Victoria Falls Lounge, which is open to the floor above and below. And then if you continue down, that's where you're going to find the table service restaurants, Boma and Jiko. Just beyond here are the doors that lead to the outside. Out here, you're going to find the flagship pool. And if you continue from there, you're going to find the Mara, which is the quick service restaurant at this resort.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if we skip back to the main lobby back on the 3rd floor, if you follow that all the way to the back, you're going to come to another set of stairs that leads essentially to like a walkout to the back of the resort. The back wall here is essentially like floor-to-ceiling windows that give you sweeping views of the savannas beyond. Okay,
and honestly, I think those windows are what help too with the dark wood colors. Just never make it seem dingy.
No, exactly.
Those windows are amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a ton of natural light pouring in, which, just brightens it up.
Yeah.
So essentially, if you take those stairs down, right, and continue outside, you're going to have viewing areas to the savannas on either side. And then you can get essentially a closer look at the animals, right? There's also like informational plaques about the wildlife that kind of live at the resort. These are like at the viewing areas. And there's actually also cast members that kind of float around and they can help, provide fun information and answer some of your questions that you might have, which is also really cool.
Yeah. So don't think that if you're not staying here, you cannot go and see the Savannah. You can go. They're not going to question, are you staying here?
No.
You can go, get on a bus that takes you to Animal Kingdom Lodge and then just go and tour the savannas. You can honestly like spend a couple hours there just
for sure
checking out the entire space.
Yeah, if you're not staying here, come for a meal, right? Go eat at Boma, eat at Sanaa, go check out the savannas, just walk around the resort. It's really nice. Yeah. And like we said earlier, the main building is named Jambo House. So the whole building is kind of shaped like this incomplete figure 8, I guess you could say, where the top and bottom are circles that haven't been closed, if that makes sense. So you have the main lobby, and then on either side of the main lobby, you have buildings that curl kind of up and towards the front of the resort. At the back of the lobby, you have buildings that curl outwards kind of towards the savannas. And in between the front and back buildings and to the left of the lobby, there's like savannas, right? They're all over
savannas
the place.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And then on the right, so essentially on the other side, there's not a savannas there. That's actually the main pool area. And then the buildings that are closest to the savannas are all facing it in some way, right? So obviously to capitalize on those savanna view rooms, which makes sense. So next to the front of the lobby on the left is the Ostrich Trail guest rooms. On the right is the Giraffe Trail guest rooms. And then the back left is the Kudu Trail guest rooms. And to the right is the Zebra Trail guest rooms.
The Ostrich Trails guest rooms building, which again are to the left of the main lobby, reach all the way to the rightmost rooms over at Kidani Village. So all of the rooms at Kidani Village are DVC villas. Having said that, they can be booked by regular guests, not just DVC members. They have a lobby here as well, but it's nowhere near as grand as the Jambo House lobby, but it's still very pretty nonetheless. It also has those dark exposed wooden beams that crisscross the ceiling, hardwood floors, and fun-themed lanterns that surround the main desk and the ceiling as well. There is also a walkout at the back of the lobby with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the back of the resort and the savanna. You can go down a set of stairs and there's a viewing area back here. And then this is also where you're going to find the worst kept secret at this resort, which is the table service Sanaa restaurant, which is definitely destination worthy. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. Yeah. So from the lobby, the resort has arms that look like a reversed number 3. The rooms to the left of the lobby face either the pool area or the savannas, and then the rooms to the right face either the parking lot or the bus station area, and the savanna on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. And the theming of the resort continues here, right? So Think earth tones, exposed wood, balconies, that whole thing. So not many changes there.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of room categories here, between the regular resort rooms, the Jumbo House villas, and the Kidani Village villas, you really have a lot of options to choose from. So it can actually get a little confusing. But to clear this up as best as we can, we'll actually cover these by sections. And before we get into those, actually, we should note that the resort will be undergoing room refurbishments very soon. So from October 2025 through May of 2026, the guest rooms at Kidani Village will be refurbished. And then May 2026 through January of 2027, the guest rooms over at Jumbo House will be refurbished. So yeah, over the next
year and
3-4 months here, it's going to be a
refurbs.
bit of it's actually a bit of a reconstruction zone. But like all refurbs, you might hear construction noise during the day, but it's not going to impact any of the amenities. And they're obviously not going to do construction at night, so you don't have to worry about that. And kind of on that note, refurbs are never a bad thing, right? It's nice to have a refresh in these rooms. And there's definitely certain aspects of the rooms that could use some TLC. But having stayed here pretty recently, it still holds up, and we found the rooms to be really quite nice and comfortable.
Agreed.
Although I think we've told this story before, but when we were flying down to Orlando, again, this was in September of 2024, so last year, I got to chatting with the man next to us, and he was actually, he was also a Disney fan, and he's actually a DVC member. And when we told him we were going to be staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, he didn't disparage the resort per se, but he did say that he basically hated the rooms.
He did, yeah. He pretty much said that.
Yeah. So again, we agree a refurb is going to be good. We still love the rooms here though. So we'd say if you're thinking of a stay here in the next few months, don't let the thought of a room that has not been refurbished kind of deter you, because they're still super nice.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So first off, let's get into the regular resort rooms. So the non-DVC rooms. These are going to be found in Jumbo House. So again, that's the main building. Here, you have your standard rooms, which have 2 queen beds with a small nightstand in between, and the reading lights that are built into the headboards, a small table, and 2 chairs near the patio door, your dresser/TV stand combo. And then you also have a coffee bar nook area that has a Keurig coffee machine, small beverage cooler, a few shelves, your safe, and a small closet. The bathroom has double sinks and a sliding door that separates the toilet and the shower, which has sliding glass doors. Love all of that. That's great setup right there, in my opinion.
Yep.
The walls are painted a light sand color, and the furniture is really dark wood. There's subtle Lion King artwork in the room as well that gives you that pop of Disney that you're always looking for. We really like these rooms. Some people will tell you that they're dark, and they kind of are, but given the theming of the resort as a whole, it just honestly works in this space.
Yeah, agreed.
For these rooms, you have water view, which is views of the pool, resort view, which is landscaping or parking, and Savanna views, which obviously speaks for itself. Prices between these rooms stay at around $500 for a resort view, and then they can go up to $700 a night for a Savanna view. Note that Disney does offer discounts throughout the year, so if you find some of these prices are pretty steep, you can find some really good savings and get a resort view room for less than $400 a night, which honestly is a great value overall.
Yeah, for sure. That's what we booked, right? And it was right around that $400 a night, or maybe it was actually, I think it was in the 300s.
It might have been, yeah.
But yeah, and we were lucky enough to get a Savanna view room, but that's the room category we booked, and we had decent savings on that.
Yeah.
And then for king beds, you have the same view options, right? But then obviously the 1 king bed falls to double occupancy, and you get a touch more essentially space, or at least it feels like more space with just the 1 bed, right? Otherwise, the rooms are pretty much identical and the prices is around the same. And then you have club level rooms that give you access to the Kilimanjaro Club. Savanna View rooms with the club level, right, start at around $950 per night. They also have 1 and 2 bedroom suites that start around $1,400 a night and only go up from there. And you have the Royal Asante Presidential Suite, which starts at around $3,500 a night. So if you're booking that, let us know and let's be friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then for villas at Jumbo House, you have studio value rooms, which are such a good value, like in the name, right? And these start at around $500 a night. These have a queen bed and a sofa pull-out bed, a kitchenette with a coffee maker, microwave, toaster, and a mini fridge. And the washroom also has a double sink with the toilet and shower separated by a door. And they have a shower tub combo as well with a curtain. These do need some TLC, so the refresh will be like a welcome change for sure. So these, specifically the value studios, are always first to book up, so that just so you're aware of that, right? So DVC members that own at Animal Kingdom, they can book these at 11 months out, essentially.
Yeah.
And those do book up right around then. They're super competitive. And these will usually have views of either landscape or parking. And the deluxe studios with resort views start at just under $600 a night. And the Savanna View deluxe studios right around $750 per night. These look slightly different than the value rooms and are a touch more spacious, but all in all, they're very similar. And then you also have one-bedroom villas that start around $900 a night for Resort View, and then over $1,000 a night for Savanna View.
Over at the Kidani Village, you also have deluxe studios with resort and Savanna views. The Resort View is around $500 a night, and the Savanna View just over $700 a night. The bathroom is actually slightly different. So you have a sink in the middle and then the toilet and shower on either side versus having the toilet and shower together. You have a kitchenette, again, with a toaster, microwave, coffee maker, and mini fridge. The TV with the dresser, TV stand, and same thing, you have the queen bed with the queen sleeper sofa. And then you also have a small table and 2 chairs. You also have the one-bedroom villas that start at $1,100 a night, 2-bedroom villas that will be between $1,400 and $1,600 a night, and the 3-bedroom grand villas. There are very few of these, and they book up way in advance and are ultra expensive. Again, if you are staying here, let's be friends. Yeah. So long story short, this is a deluxe resort, so it's not cheap by any means, but standard view rooms will be discounted to be at the moderate level pricing, depending on the time of year. And then deluxe studios can be a really good option as well, especially if you are renting DVC points.
Yeah, agreed 100%. All right, next up, let's talk dining. Now, this is a deluxe resort, right? So there's some really good and destination-worthy dining options here. And we'll start things off in Jambo House with the Mara. So like we said, this is on the ground floor, tucked at the back of the resort near the main pool. The inside has dark wood like the rest of the resort, right? With animal murals all along the walls. There's a decent amount of seating in here, but it's not nearly as big as some of the other quick service locations like at the resorts across property, right? So just something to keep in mind there. It does open at 6:30 a.m. though, which is amazing because not every quick service in the resorts opens at 6:30. Some are only at 7 a.m. So having the option to have coffee nice and early is good, especially if you're hoping to be on the first buses out of the resort for the day, especially for Animal Kingdom. Because
completely agree.
Yeah, it usually opens at 8 a.m. So early entry is 7:30. So if you're on those first buses, if you can't have coffee at 6:30, you can have coffee at the park.
Usually, like on our Animal Kingdom days, we're ending up having coffee later in the day just because we're go first thing. So it is nice to have this option.
Yeah, exactly. And then for breakfast, they have all your standard options, right? So pretty much anything that they would have at any other quick service across property. So yeah, eggs, breakfast sandwiches, waffles, oats. And then they do have a French toast bread pudding made with Madagascar vanilla bean sauce. So that's like a fun local option to the resort. And then, of course, they have a wide selection of bakery and grab-and-go options as well.
And then for lunch and dinner, they have your standard options like burgers, chicken tenders, flatbreads, and salads. And then they also have a few more unique options as well. You're going to find the combination bowls with oak grilled chicken and chermoula spiced shrimp, kale, rice, tomatoes, and cucumber salad, and chermoula sour cream. The harissa spiced beef bowl, which is braised beef stew, pilau rice, kale slaw, cucumber tomato salad, and avocado tahini sauce, and the South African vegetable bowl that's made with curried vegetable stew, pilau rice, kale slaw, dried fruit achar, and avocado tahini sauce. They have a wide selection of sweet and bakery options as well if you are feeling peckish. There's actually one menu item here that's completely worth making the trek for, and these are the zebra domes. These little gems are made from chocolate mousse baked with Amarilla cream liqueur drizzled with white chocolate and chocolate stripes and chocolate shavings. A pack costs $4.59, and then you get 4 of these, which is perfect for sharing, and they are absolutely divine. Smooth, creamy, light. They are sweet, but not overly so. We absolutely love these things.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just so good. And next up is Boma. So this is a table service buffet restaurant, and it's located on the ground floor of the resort. So when you're on the 3rd floor, essentially where the check-in desks are, and you look down, you can actually see Boma, right? And it's dining room and kind of the buffet area. It's all open to the top floors, which is pretty cool. They serve breakfast and dinner here. Breakfast is 7:30 to 11:30, and dinner is 5 to 9 p.m. Breakfast costs $39 per adult and $23 per child, and dinner is $58 per adult and $34 per child, which is pretty steep for sure. It's not a cheap meal by any stretch of the imagination. Having said that, it is a great dining experience. The breakfast and brunch is pretty standard options, and we'd say it's not really worth it for us. But for dinner, they really have a ton of good and different options that's going to appeal to a lot of people, especially those looking for something just essentially a little different than your usual stuff that you're going to get at most other restaurants across property. So some of what you can expect to find are pita with hummus and coriander, Burberry chickpea salad, Tunisian couscous and shrimp salad, North African cauliflower salad, spiced green beans with golden raisins, black-eyed peas, greens and shakalaka, peanut rice or coconut rice. This is on a rotation. And then they're also going to have, more accessible options. So think like penne pasta, marinara and meatballs, macaroni and cheese, chicken bites, like sweet corn pudding, olive oil, herb crusted potatoes, lamb and beef bobo tie, Durban chicken, tamarind barbecue ribs, African spiced beef strip loin, and butternut squash soup. So yeah, you have essentially a ton of options.
I like a good buffet. Like honestly, I like having lots of options, especially if you go with kids. So there's something for everybody and lots of African inspired dishes.
Yep.
Just delicious.
Yeah, and spices.
So many flavors, I guess, is the word I'm looking for.
Absolutely. And yeah, like that's just basically a partial look at everything that's on offer because there really is a lot. There's also a fun collection of desserts as well. And the best part is they actually have zebra domes here at the buffet, right? So that means zebra domes on demand. And we ate here when we stayed here last September. And I didn't count, but I ate at least 3 or 4 just to myself. Yeah.
I think you definitely went back a couple of times. No judgment.
Yeah.
You love those things so much.
Yeah.
Honestly, we really did enjoy Boma and the food is really tasty. It is very expensive though. So if you are going to eat at one restaurant at this resort, this is honestly not going to be probably our first choice. All right. So right next to Boma is Jiko. This is the signature restaurant and it's at a more elevated experience than the other restaurants at the resort. It only opens for dinner between 5 and 9:30 p.m. The restaurant is beautiful with blue ceilings, suspended lanterns that look like origami yellow birds. There's pops of color in the columns and in the chairs as well. The menu is an African and Mediterranean influenced menu with some really good options, again, that differ from your standard American fare. So for appetizers, you have the mussels malata, sukuma wiki dumplings, the duck confit, honey raisin flatbread, braid wild boar tenderloin, scallop with pork belly, and the Jiko salad and spiced carrot soup. These range from $16 to $19. And then for entrees, you have the oak grilled filet mignon or New York strip, served with 4-cheese macaroni, seasoned vegetables, and chocolate red wine demi-glaze. They also have the seared venison loin, the Moroccan spiced lamb shank, the lacquered chicken, roasted halibut, Botswanan seswa short rib, the injera basket, and the seafood tagine. These range in prices from $41 to $62. Again, this is a signature restaurant, so that means higher prices. Note that the kids menu has some kid-friendly options like mac and cheese and pizza. So if you do have picky kids, but you do want to try this place, don't worry, you're going to be able to find them something as well because most kids will eat mac and cheese and pizza, and then you can actually enjoy that elevated dining experience.
Exactly. There's definitely some safer options. But yeah, they also have a fun selection of drinks and cocktails and wine as well. And then attached to Jiko, you have the Cape Town Lounge and Wine Bar. This place has limited seating and a small menu, but it is a good place to have a drink before or after your meal at Jiko. It's a full bar, so they have a good selection of non-alcoholic and alcoholic cocktails and a wide selection of wine, beer, scotch, you name it, they probably have it. And up a flight of stairs from Boma is the Victoria Falls Lounge, like we alluded to earlier. So this is essentially like half a floor between the 3rd floor lobby and Boma on the ground floor. It also is like open. So from the lounge, you can see up to the lobby and down to Boma and vice versa. This place, in my opinion, is a sleeper hit. And even though it's kind of in the middle of the action, it actually kind of feels secluded enough that you can enjoy a drink and light bites without like feeling, disturbed or out in the open when you're in there. It's open from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. daily, and they have a fun selection of cocktails and specialty drinks and a full bar. So think wine, beer, liquors, whatever you're craving. And they also have a rotational menu of light bites. That's actually not on the My Disney Experience app. But they have had things like charcuterie boards, a braai burger with seasoned chips, marinated olives and almonds, spiced duck drumettes, Cape Town slap chips, among other options. So just check with the server essentially when you're there. This is definitely a good place to stop and have a light bite and a beverage like on your arrival day or something like that.
And then back outside near the pool, which by the way is named Uzima Springs. Not sure if we mentioned that yet, but the pool bar here is called the Uzima Springs Pool Bar, which makes sense. It's open daily from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And it also serves a selection of fun cocktails as well as non-alcoholic drinks and then a small selection of beer and wine. It's actually a really good spot to grab a drink if you are lounging by the pool. And for reference, the Mara is right next to the pool, so you don't have to go far if you're wanting to get something to snack on as well. And then that's it for the Jumbo House. The other dining options for Animal Kingdom Lodge are over at Kidani Village, which again, you can take the internal shuttle for that or just walk. Again, it's not super far. And with all the dining options you have at Jumbo House, why on earth would you make the trek to Kidani Village? For Sanaa. That's why. This place is a double whammy because it gives you two things. A great, and when I mean great, absolutely tremendous view of the Savanna at Kidani Village, and an absolutely fantastic menu with delicious, delicious food. The inside of the space is well themed. The walls are painted kind of like this yellow sandstone color with artwork hung all throughout. There are columns in the dining that have multicolored designs, and they also have columns that look like trees. The ceilings has panels that look like that tree canopy from the trunks in the space. Honestly, it's hard to put in words. It's just absolutely beautiful in there.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we love this restaurant for the food, but the theming is on point as well. And then all around the dining room outside, you have these kind of massive semicircle windows that look out onto the Savanna, like Lucy was saying, right? Which is, what's really amazing about this restaurant, right? When we ate here last, we were seated right by the window.
So
and
beautiful.
Yeah, there was literally like wildebeest like 30 feet from where we were sitting.
I think we saw some giraffes too.
Yeah, totally.
We saw
Zebras,
lots of animals. Yeah.
It was awesome. We have photos of us sitting there with the animals in the background, and like literally,
amazing.
I would go back there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And the restaurant is open from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. for lunch, and then 5 to 9:30 for dinner. The menu features African and Indian inspired dishes, and one of the best, in our opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, is on the appetizer menu, and that's the Indian style bread service. So it comes with 5 different types of naan bread and 9 different types of dipping sauces. So you have traditional naan, garlic ginger naan, spice naan, onion kulcha, and paneer paratha. And the sauces are cucumber raita, roasted red pepper hummus, mango chutney, tomato date jam, tamarind chutney, coriander chutney, garlic pickle, red chili sambal, and spicy jalapeno lime pickle. And they're all delicious. Like, there's some sweet in there, some savory, and like the bread is warm. And it's just,
it's so good.
You highly, highly recommend.
Every single one of those dips too were delicious. Not one, like, obviously you probably had a favorite, but all in all, like every single one of those dishes, like dips were
and they pair
fantastic.
nicely with the different kinds of bread. It's just, it's I think it's really worth it. It's
agreed.
Awesome. Yeah.
So aside from that, for appies, you also have the lamb kefta, seasonal soup, samosas, or seasonal salad. And then for entrees, you have the pachi inspired with your choice of goan seafood curry, butter chicken, braised beef, or pork vindaloo. And then you can get that with your choice of rajmas masala, chickpea wat, sukuma wiki, or lentil dal, all served with basmati rice. You also have the Zanzibari curry with vegetables, chicken or shrimp, the Sanaa burger, tandoori chicken, or samaki atma peri peri.
Yeah, I think we both had the Zanzibari curry.
Yes, I was going to say we had curry,
Yeah, and it's delicious.
Did I have mine with shrimp? I can't remember.
I can't remember, but
it was delicious regardless.
So good, so good.
And honestly, we were already feeling kind of full from the bread because it is that appetizer is huge. That's like a perfect 4-person appetizer. Yeah.
Yes.
But still delicious nonetheless. And then for kids, they have the accessible options like grilled cheese or pizza. And then they have a full bar with a fun selection of cocktails, wine, and beer. One big caveat here is that you should actually try to dine here as early in the day as possible, especially during the cooler months when the days are shorter. And the reason for this is that when it gets dark, or if it's dark outside, it becomes really hard and just almost impossible to see the animals, which takes a bit away from the overall appeal of the restaurant. So when we ate here last time, we had a late lunch, which was, I think, around 3 p.m.
I think our reservation was literally like $250 or something.
Yeah, exactly. So just something to keep in mind if you are going to be wanting to see the animals during your dining experience.
Yeah, exactly. So basically lunch or early dinner is going to give you the best odds for seeing the most animals, right? And then right next to Sanaa, you have the Sanaa Lounge, right? Makes sense. That's open from 11:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Has a small selection of light bites, including the bread service, right? And then a good selection of cocktails and wine. So, if you want the Sanaa experience in the sense of like eating the bread service, but not like doing a full meal, just stop by the lounge and no advanced diner reservations required.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, at Kidani Village, you have the Maji Pool Bar, which is over by the pool area. And it has a decent amount of light bites, right? So we have a gourmet grilled cheese, foot-long hot dogs, non-pocket chicken club, grain bowl, spiced pork nachos, and a Caesar salad with either chamula chicken or tandoori shrimp. For kids, they have a turkey wrap, grilled cheese, or Uncrustables. And then they also have a good selection of frozen treats, non-alcoholic drinks, cocktails, beer, and wine. Given that there's no quick service at Kidani Village, this is actually a good option if you're spending an afternoon, by the pool or whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on that note, let's talk the pools and recreation. And since we were just talking about Kidani Village, let's start there. So here you have the Samawati Springs Pool. It features a 128-foot water slide and zero depth entry, and at 4,700 square feet and over 118,000 gallons, it's actually a decent-sized pool area for sure. The pool area is home to the Uwanja Camp. This is a water playground that has 3 zones for kids of all ages. You have the observation station for children 4 years of age and younger. It has that soft bubbling geyser and a shallow pool. There's the departure zone, which is for kids aged 5 to 7. That's where there's a water tower that squirts water. And then the base camp for kids aged 8 and older. And these have water cannons that they can spray at each other with. So note that as of this recording, the pool area is actually closed here for routine maintenance, but it should reopen pretty soon here, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And then over at Jumbo House, like we were saying earlier, you have the Ozima Springs Pool. This is a 1,100 square foot and 234,000 gallon pool. And it's essentially like a really nice pool area surrounded by trees, and it has like a gentle slope, zero depth entry as well, and a 67-foot long water slide. Aside from that, like all resorts, right, you have Movie Under the Stars. These are 8 p.m. and alternate between Hakuna Matata Playground at Jumbo House on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and at the Pembe Savanna Overlook, which is on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and that's actually over at Kidani Village. You also have nightly campfires at Jumbo House. It's at the Arusha Savanna Overlook, and at Kidani, it's at the Pembe Savanna Overlook. These are held between 6 and 7 p.m. and offer free marshmallows and s'mores kits for a fee. Jumbo House has Pumbaa's Fun and Games Arcade, which is open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. You also have Simba's Activity Center, which is open daily from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., where you can create your very own African jewelry, ceramic, and other arts and crafts, sometimes for a fee. So just check with cast members. And then something that's exclusive to Jumbo House, and we alluded to it earlier, but we kind of mentioned all of the art and kind of artifacts that are in glass cases like all around the lobby. So you can actually take a free guided tour of the Jumbo House lobby, where a guide is actually going to walk you through and kind of around the collection of African art at the resort and just tell you about it. You can check in at the medallion in the lobby to get more information on that.
And then on that note, you can do medallion rubbing daily here as well at 1:30 p.m., where you're actually going to be able to take part in making art related to that. Over at the Ozima Springs Pool, there are daily pool activities. You can do arts and crafts on the pool deck as well, daily from 3 to 4 p.m. On Sundays and Wednesdays, it's make your own African bangles. Monday and Friday is sand art, and Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturday is Mickey tie-dye shirts. And then lastly, you have the Wild About Painting, which is an artist-led experience that's held on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. at Jiko before it opens for their dinner service. Kidani Village has its own arcade, the Safari So Good Arcade, that's open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. The community hall has video games, arts and crafts, pool tables, sports gear, pickleball equipment, and this is open daily from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. They also do arts and crafts at the Samawati pool deck from 3 to 4 p.m. daily. Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays is Mickey tie-dyes, and then Mondays and Saturdays is make your own African bangle, and Thursday is sand art. They also have an African mosaic art activity at the Palace Library in the lobby on Tuesdays at 1:30, where you get to create your very own mosaic.
Yeah, exactly. And then both Jumbo House and Kidani Village also have their very own fitness centers. Jumbo's is Zahanati Fitness Center, and that's open 24/7. And Kidani has the Survival of the Fittest. Ooh, I like that. And that's open 24/7 as well. And then next up, let's get into location and transportation. So as the name implies, it's closest to Animal Kingdom Park, right? And it's actually only about like a mile and a half or so between the resort and the park. Having said that, you can't actually walk there. And I realize that it's actually physically close enough that you could do that, but there's just no walking path between the two. Okay, so you do have to take a bus. And that leads me to our next point, is that the only mode of transportation to anywhere on property from this resort is buses. So if that doesn't sound appealing to you, then that could kind of tip this scale to get you to consider somewhere else. Having said that, we talk about this all the time, but we don't mind the buses at all, and it's no different at this resort. There are 2 bus stops here, one at Jumbo House and the other one's at Kidani Village. When the buses depart for the Springs or the parks, they're actually going to stop at both stops. But like we said earlier, you can easily walk from one to the other, so it really doesn't add much time to like your overall travel time.
Yeah, agreed.
The bus stops for both of these are located just outside their lobbies as well, so you don't have to go far.
Absolutely. Honestly, we have 0 issues with the bus here. They come around often and they never honestly felt too crowded. So definitely don't let that deter you from staying here. The buses came around often, and we never waited too long at the resorts or at the parks. So despite its location near Animal Kingdom, that's honestly relative. It's still on Disney property, so it really does not take too long to get anywhere. The furthest point of interest is actually probably Disney Springs, and it's 20 minutes max on the high end. Everything else is even less than that.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, let's get into some pros and cons. So the pros are pretty clear, right? It's a deluxe resort, so it really has a lot to offer in terms of amenities. So you've got several really solid dining options, 2 great pools, full-blown savannas with like wildlife all around. So like giraffes, zebras, wildebeest, antelope, among many, many others. It qualifies you for extended evening hours and at a lower cost than pretty much any other deluxe resort on property, except for maybe Saratoga Springs and Old Key West. It's a beautiful themed resort, one of, if not the best in our opinion. And there's really a lot to like about the resort.
Totally. It is so good. And really, it doesn't have very many cons, if I'm being honest. I'd honestly say the 2 biggest are transportation and location. So yes, it is only bus transportation to anywhere else on property. It's actually one of the very few resorts on property where that is the case. And location, it's tucked away out by Animal Kingdom, which we're saying is a con, but honestly can be an actual pro. If you wanted to be in the bubble, but still feel like you're at a resort that's kind of a little bit further out and feels a little bit more serene for that reason, this might be exactly what you are looking for. The flip side of that is that if you want a centrally located resort with multiple transportation options, honestly, this resort is not that. And it is a deluxe resort, which means it's definitely on the higher side when it comes to pricing, even though it is consistently on the low end of the average deluxe prices at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, agreed. Actually, I couldn't agree more. And with that, we'll leave you with our closing thoughts. So if we haven't made it clear, we love this resort, right? And we wouldn't hesitate to recommend us stay here and stay here again ourselves. I feel like we've said this about a few of the resorts already, but as I was doing the outline for this episode, I literally turned to Lucy and I go, we should stay here with our next day with the kids.
He totally did. And I completely agreed. So we do have a one-nighter at Coronado Springs coming up here in November, but I think our next full Disney trip, because we're doing Universal this time, I think this is where we're going to stay. Because think our kids, just for the animals alone.
Yeah, the savannas, the pool, the food.
I'm trying to think too, is this one of the only resorts that has 2 water slides?
Yeah. Off the top of my head.
All the main flagship pools have a water slide, except for at the value resorts. But this is the only one I've heard of that has a second pool with a second water slide.
Yeah, I'd have to, off the top of my head, I can't think of any others.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's awesome that they have 2.
I think that might be actually. Yeah. So honestly, right there for our kids to have 2 pool options with 2 water slides, huge bonus for them.
Like you said, and just having the animals there, just the overall theming, it has
like
some really solid dining options.
Yeah.
Their quick service opens early. Yeah, there's a lot to love about it.
We love having a resort day with the kids, and this is a great resort to spend a day at.
Yeah, agreed. So with that said, thank you for joining us today to talk Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And as always, if you could leave us a rating and review, it would be greatly appreciated. If you choose to do so, you can leave reviews right on Apple Podcasts. And for Spotify, you can leave a rating.
You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at letsgo.to-Disney, as well as on our Facebook page, Let's Go to Disney. We share some helpful reels here, as well as some fun ones. The link tree in the show notes will take you to all of our socials.
Have a great day, and we'll see you real soon.